Well, good morning, my viewing and listening audience. Good morning on this great and glorious morning, this winter morning in the state of Michigan. But we are blessed and happy to be here today with you, my viewing and listening audience. The Marketplace Connection is on the air, and I am your host, Linda Hunt, and I welcome all my Saturday morning connectors. I thank God for you and what God has called you to do today. And I just want to say that this is a great day. We are so blessed to be here and so blessed to be alive in the year of 2021. Okay? It is a 2021 blessing to be here. After all we've been through in 2020, we are blessed to be alive and well in 2021. So that means that there's more life for you. And so that's what the Marketplace Connection is all about. And I'm bringing you people and I bring you subjects that can help change your life. And so today I have a wonderful guest. This man of God has been with me on several different occasions in the past. And today we're going to be talking about something that I think is very, very interesting. And I just want to welcome the man of God, Mr. Gregory McClary of the Chapel of the Chimes Funeral Services here in Westland, Michigan. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you. So good to be here.
It is so good. I know you can say that.
Right. So good to be back.
In the business that you're in, it is great. It is glorious. And I am so happy to have you for more than one reason. Mr. McClary, because I know that you are a servant leader and that the services that you perform for people with excellence and with professionalism, with care, I know it can be at times, a very stressful situation, but you have been in business for 40 years now?
Been licensed for 40 years.
40 years.
I've owned Chapel of Chimes for 11 years, been the operator there for 11 years.
Wow, yeah. Wow. And you kind of got into business from your mother, was passed down?
Right. From
you and your sister?
The age of, when I was 9 was when I decided this was what I wanted to do.
Wow.
And started working around the funeral home when I was 10 and just went from there.
Oh, my goodness.
And I knew that was my calling. And so this is where I'm here today in serving people, and not just reverence and serving the dead, but serving the living.
That's it.
You know, this is a ministry to the living.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because at that time, when people are going through that time of, grieving and going mourning and all of those things, it takes a special personality to be able to deal with that with excellence and, with quiet confidence, and reassurance that, you can get them through that moment. And to have someone like you and to have been in the business this long, passed down. So your mom had a funeral?
She worked there. I have other family members that own funeral homes in Philadelphia. But she worked before she passed away. She'd been in the business for over 55 years.
Wow.
And so it was like the things that she have taught me for serving people, she was the teacher.
Wow.
She was the teacher.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, that is wonderful, to have someone that can teach you and to and exemplifies in every other area of your life.
Right.
That you do. Once you become a servant leader and knowing how to serve people, it's in every area of your life, not just in that one area. Right. So we just thank God for you.
Yeah. And our greatest purpose on earth is serving.
That's
serving
it.
people.
Isn't that what Jesus said?
Yeah.
He said the greatest among you is a servant.
Right.
That he didn't come to be served.
Right.
He came to serve.
Correct.
And that's what we are supposed to do in every area of our lives. And it doesn't have to be just in a church or, because you're a usher or a greeter or, or you're, a minister. But in every area of our lives, you find yourself serving people.
Very much.
And so, yeah. So we're going to be talking about today the question, the culture question, and how to let me see that book. How to create a workplace where people like to work. Okay, and so we want you to listen up, get you a cup of coffee and a pad, and talk about this particular book. And it looks like a very good book because I believe that everything that we do, and particularly with the Marketplace Connection, is called to do is to change culture, to talk about the various cultures of society, the government, the business, the education, the family, the religion. All of those are what we call cultural mountains of, or mountains of influence, or cultures of influence. And the only way to change the culture is you have to have people in those areas. And I believe that every believer, if you are called to work in a certain place, in society, wherever you are. It could be in a car dealership, it could be in a doctor's office, it can be in the beautician's, in a shop. Whatever you're called to do, you are there, if you are a believer, to change the culture, the environment around you, and the people around you by what? Allowing your light to shine, okay? And so this is what we're going to be talking about, is the culture of, the culture question, rather. And so I just want you to listen up because every one of us has a part to play in this. Would you agree?
Amen.
We
Amen.
have a part to play in changing the culture and the environment that we have been called to. So let's talk a little bit about, first of all, what the definition of culture is.
Well, the definition of culture that came from the Latin word cultus, which means care. Every society, every tribe, every group builds their culture on how they care for themselves, how they care for other people, and how they care for society. So we don't hear a lot about culture, but it's all around us. I mean, we are built from our forefathers all the way up to now. The culture, how do we care about people? And we can see just in the past several months doing things that were going on in our country, it really tells and told us a lot about how we really care about people, and how we care about people in our business, how we care about people in our churches, our homes, and just in everyday community. How do we care? And so that's what culture means, care.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Okay. Well, I had looked it up too as well. Definition from the Webster, and it says, according to the sociologists, culture consists of values, beliefs, systems of language, communication, and practices that share in common, and that can be used to define them as collective.
Right.
And so, every place that we go, we are a part of a culture. Right here in this, in our studio, the beliefs that we have, the beliefs that we share, the values that we share,
Right.
how we operate, with one another, how we treat one another. All of that is a part of the culture. The food that we eat.
Right.
There's different cultures that Mexican or Indians or whatever, they have their own culture in terms of how they even, serve God. So all of those things, are a part of our culture. In the workplace, there is a culture, there's an environment, and the people that are the leaders of that a particular business, they set the tone.
Right.
For the culture of how people operate in that particular environment. All of your belief systems, all of, how you operate, all of that is a part of the culture. So tell us what the culture of business is, and how that particular culture can, be changed or enhanced.
Right. Of course, the culture of business is how do a company value their customers, how do a company value their workers. And so it is built around how at the head, the leadership see their workers and see their customers. And it has always been said that if you treat your employees right, it determines how you treat your customers and vice versa. So it has to start at the top and then it also has to be a foundation built so that everybody who is working for this company or working in this business are on the same page. Um, so that's how you build the culture, because we all think in the same way, we all serve in the same way. You know, you may have gone into some places and you've seen some people give good customer service,
Right.
and then other people, they're not so good, but yet it's the business. And so in order for to make a good culture in a business, everybody has to be on the same
That's
page.
right.
Everybody have to be thinking alike. Everybody have to value others alike. And no matter what business is it,
Yeah.
whether it's a business where just the owner and there's no employees, or if there are 5 employees, or there are 5,000 employees, there has to be a culture that values people, because people are the greatest assets.
That's right.
You can make the greatest product, but if you don't value the people, the product is no good.
That's right. That's right. I've always worked in a sales environment, and that is one of the things that at that particular time when I was selling cars, that's one of the things that, if nothing else, that I took away from that particular job that I had. But it was always, the environment was, the customer comes first.
Right.
And my my general manager was really a stickler on that.
Right.
And sometimes to a fault, because we would we would lose money as the car salesperson, because he was going to make sure that customer was satisfied, and and if he wasn't, then we knew that we was going to hear from him, and I mean, he was an excellent boss. I mean, that's one thing I can say about him. He was an excellent leader, but he was always about customer service.
Right.
And always about getting that car out of there, doing everything we could as much as possible, to make that customer satisfied.
Well, one of the greatest things in business, and I think we lack a lot of times, is we try to sell before we serve.
That's it.
And we should serve before we sell.
Before we sell.
And you'll get the sale.
That's right.
And not only that, when you get the sale, then you got to service the
That's
sale.
right. That's
and
right.
so I think a lot of business and a lot of people, they're so focused on, if I make this sale,
Yeah.
and they forget that what matters most is the relationship.
That's right. It's customer service.
Right.
And that's what I think in every environment. It doesn't matter whether it's a sales environment or whatever it is. It's about customer service. And if you have that attitude of customer service, even if you're not in that environment where it's about a sale, you know how to treat each other.
Right.
Because customer service is not just serving the public. It's also about how do we interact with one another.
Right. And see, in a business or on a job, a lot of people think the customer is the person who walks through the door. But the customer begins with each employee.
That's right.
The way they interact with each other.
That's right.
It's also your vendors.
Right.
How do you interact with your vendors? So it's not just trying to get somebody in the door to the cash register, but you start at the door. And I've seen a lot of business now, because I pay a lot of attention to, as I've been working on this project, I pay a lot of attention to business. A lot of times you'll go in a store, you don't hear nobody, don't see nobody until you go to the cash register, and then you hear somebody say, "Are you ready to cash out?" But I'm seeing a lot of companies now, when you walk in the door, somebody's there to meet you, to greet you, and that right there is the beginning of customer service, meeting people where they are and then helping them around, because sometimes you may have somebody come in a business and they don't buy, but you still need to serve that
That's
person.
right. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us the difference between a business plan versus a culture plan.
Okay. Anytime you go in a business and you maybe want to borrow money from a bank or get investors to invest in your business, they want a business plan.
Okay.
And the reason why they want a business plan is they want to see whether you have really thought about this business you want. They want to see whether you really have forecasts how you going to make money, maybe how you going to make money in the next 5, 10 years. They want to see what you're going to do if you don't make money, what your plan is. So you have to do all of that to get money. And that is a requirement. And the main thing is to make you think, because I remember when I had to do a business plan and I'm thinking, well, I don't know how I'm going to make money 5 or 10 years from now. I don't know what the projection is.
Right.
But it made me think what I need to do, even if things don't work out, what is my plan then? So culture plan is, okay, how am I going to act when I got the money and the business has started? What are my plans on how I'm going to respond to customers, how I'm going to respond to their needs, how I'm going to respond to maybe their conflicts, or maybe things, customer may not be satisfied. How are you going to do that? How are you going to respond to your workers? How are you going to train them? How are you going to look at them? And the first thing is, in doing a business plan, you're looking at money. A culture plan is looking at people, because you want to be, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't treat your employees and your customers right, then you will lose all the money.
That's right. I mean, if the people aren't coming through the door, the cash register can't ring.
Right.
It's like, hey, the two go together.
Right. And so having and a lot of people, the focus has always been, and it's because of culture, has been the focus on get a business plan, and that's good, but you should have a culture plan. And I've been talking with some, actually even some other funeral homes that have been working on, just got started in business, and they got the money, they're so excited where we're going with this, but then when you start asking them about, do you value people, or do you just looking at what people can do for you?
Right.
And it's about what you can do for them.
Yeah.
And it is going to always be that. And that's going to be your greatest asset in how you value people. And one of our things in my business, a personal business, is do you love people?
Yeah.
And that is our culture, is built around that. Do you love people? Because sometimes there are people you face that you may say are unlovable, but the question is, do you love them?
Yeah,
right. And when you love them, you can serve them no matter what the situation is.
Kind of like that quote, John F. Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you,
right,
but what you can do for your country.
Right.
And same thing in your business.
Yeah, and that was, and people don't realize that was one of the turning points of getting people to start looking at not being here for a handout, but being here to give a hand. And because that's what we want to do, to make this country a better place, is not just what this country can do for us, but what we can do for.
How can that work even in a church or religious environment? Since we're talking about culture, various, as I said, cultural mountains, one of the religious, because we're in a shift.
Right.
We're in a pivot. We're in a change, whatever you want to call it. Things are not going back the same way that they were last year,
right.
just a year ago. Everything has changed in the world. So in a religious environment, how can the culture the question of culture, how can we change the environment now that things have changed in terms of us being now have to go virtual? And when we get back to church, if we don't know when that's going to happen. Some churches are still not open, but some of them are still open, but they're doing it on a smaller scale,
right,
because you can't get as many people in the door as you used to, sitting close together. And so how can the culture be changed now that we have shifted the way we do things in church? So what can we do? What can we do to enhance the culture?
Well, many years ago, we thought the best church was the one that had the highest steeple. Then we went to the mega church, and we felt that they had to be the best church
Right.
because they were the
So many
biggest
people-
church.
Right.
And now that we see from the pandemic, it's like we're on a smaller scale. So the culture now is not how many people we can get in a building, but how many lives we can change in the building.
Yes.
When
yes.
people come, because even though we are in we're doing this by media, but are we reaching people even in their homes and letting them know that even though you're in your home, we still value you. You know, you cannot fill the pews, but we can still give you something to hold on that you can get through this. And that's what I feel, that even in this, and I will never say that what we're going through, God put this on us, but I will say this is
He
the
allowed it.
greatest opportunity for
Right.
us to even look at ourselves and say, do I value my members? Do I value my church? Not the
Right.
building,
Right.
but the people in the building. Because our responsibility is not to build buildings, but to build lives
That's it.
and be effective in those lives, that people are changed. You know, you can have somebody asked the question one time at a meeting, how many people that they took into their church the past year, and they had some ministers saying, well, I took in 500 new members, I took in 1,000 new members, and the speaker listened at all those numbers, and then he asked the question, well, how many people you ran away from your church? You know, so to build the culture that God would want us to do is to be a changer of lives.
Yes,
build lives.
absolutely.
You know, people. You find so many people just down. You know,
Yes.
and I found that one of the greatest things that, and it just came to me, that I have found how hurting people are. I was in a city, and I was at the hotel, and I went up to the desk, and asked the lady, you know, how she was doing, and she told me, and then I said, well, how's your family doing today? And she looked at me like, you concerned about my family? And I said, yes, I am concerned about your family. I see you doing all right, but how's your family? And so she began to tell me that her husband was in the hospital sick. Now, that told me here she is working, and she can't even be with her husband. And so it gave me the opportunity while we was talking. I was able to pray with her. But it also let you know that even in your business and your church, if you value people, you look beyond the body and see that there could be an inner being that needs building up.
Yeah.
So the culture is changing because it's going to be personal, not brick and mortar,
Come on.
but flesh and blood. It's going to be personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we have to change our way of thinking. Yes, we may, and I feel we'll go back to buildings, but I hope when we go back to buildings, we walk in the door looking how we can build lives,
Yeah.
make people better.
And even outside of the four walls,
Right.
you know, we have to, I believe, as the Bible tells us, to go ye into all the world
Correct.
and to preach the gospel. And I think in this season, in this hour that we're in right now, is that evangelism and discipleship and some of those things, instead of us being inside the four walls, now we have to get out and change the culture around us.
Right.
You know, people in our community, you know, we have to become now more community minded about the people outside the four walls of our church.
Right.
Because we preach to them every Sunday, and there's people around us that are dying and that have a need. And so now the church has to be the church.
Right.
It has to be the church that God has called it to be in the earth. And the things that Jesus was one of the greatest marketplace ministers that it was.
Correct.
And most of his ministry was done outside of the four walls of the church. So the culture of the church definitely, I believe, in this season, in this hour, has to change.
Right.
It cannot go back to being the same way that it was before.
I feel this could be the church finest hour.
Oh, absolutely.
To make a difference.
That's right.
Because as we see, the pandemic has taken so many lives, and sometimes
right.
you have to think how many of those lives that weren't touched before they passed away
That's
that
right.
we should have touched.
That's right.
And so this should make us be aware that we should be more focused on making sure our families are going in the right direction, our friends are going in the right direction, and not looking on how many people are sitting in the pew,
That's right.
but whether
Because
those
they ain't there now.
that are sitting in the pew are ready.
That's right.
You know.
Absolutely. Equipping
Right.
the saints.
Right, and that's what culture is about.
That's right.
Because you care.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Amen. Okay. So, what businesses need a culture plan? Let's talk about some of the businesses that need a culture plan that you feel.
Every business need a culture plan.
Okay.
It doesn't matter whether you are a hairdresser, a barber, whether you're a car salesman, or whether you're Ford Motor Company, or whether you're a restaurant. Every business need a culture plan because
Okay.
every business, you don't need to be in business with the product and making a sale, but you need to be in business on how to provide the excellent service with that family or with that individual. So there's no business that should go without a plan, whether it's a one-man show.
Okay.
Just say if a one person got a business and he's the only employee, he needs a plan. He needs a plan of how I am going to make a difference in other people's lives, because
Yeah.
it's about making a difference.
Yeah.
If somebody don't buy from me, what can I do to help them maybe the next time buy from me? And so if you got a plan and you provide that culture plan, you're gonna see a difference because, and I'll give you an instance. Sometimes people will call and they may be looking for somebody else, and so I could just say, well, I can't help you, but I can still offer some kind of help that may be able to make it easy for them, even in their search for what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So it's not whether they come to the cash register, but it's whether you can walk down that aisle and give you a good example of one of I saw a change in I'll just say Home Depot. Several years ago, you would go in Home Depot and you had to look for what you wanted, but now you meet a customer representative, and not only that, they'll tell you where it is, they'll walk with you
Right.
to that aisle or to that product. And so they're beginning to change. And when the owner of that company started that process, people came in the store and they got away from being frustrated because somebody took the time to help them find the product
Right.
instead of you spending time looking for the product.
Yeah.
So no matter how big you are, you
Right.
need a culture plan. No matter how small you are, you need a culture plan.
Yeah, yeah. I think even with us in years ago, how you would go to Macy's, which used to be Hudson's at that time, and the people, I mean, there was always a sales representative or somebody around to help you. The elevator operators,
Yeah.
that they had at that time. They wore gloves, and and so it was a real environment of professionalism.
Right.
And so I think a lot of times, because things had changed, in terms of technology, sometimes we forget about
Right.
how to really focus on the customer and to really be, a customer service oriented company. So we just have to get back to some basics.
Right. Technology has kind of handicapped us
Yeah.
in some ways, and technology is good and it can enhance. But when you take the people element out of it, then you lose sight. And I'm seeing in all businesses it's going high tech, but if you get away from the people,
Right.
you're gonna lose.
You're gonna lose it. Right. So tell us why we don't have a culture plan. In most cases, those are some of the questions that you raised. Why don't we have a culture plan?
Well, most people over the years, we just didn't know. You know, in some
Okay.
cases, you didn't know you needed a culture plan. And some people were maybe operating in a culture plan and didn't know it was a culture plan.
Okay.
You had some people, they had an idea to start a business. They had an idea to make money, but they didn't have an idea how to run it, the business, how to
Okay.
management. Just like biblically, scripture. God blesses us with money, but one of the most important things is how we manage the money. And so God bless you with business, but how you manage the business. So um, many people and many companies don't know, but you can see in society now where companies are really focusing on training their staff to be better customer service and people. And one of the things that I have focused in my business is not only to have people that do a good job, but also be a good citizen.
Yeah.
So because see, a lot of times people are going to see my staff outside of the business as well as inside of the business.
And they represent you.
Right. And so we don't want them to like I tell them, don't go in another store and you be fussing at the cashier because they didn't do anything, because they'll remember you. They know
That's right.
you. So when you teach a culture plan, you're teaching them to work together good, to serve together good, and then in society be good.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's just like your mother and your father would teach you. Don't go out there and embarrass me.
Right.
They were teaching us culture then, and
Right.
we didn't know it. Because they felt like the way I'm raising you, my values, my morals, and things like that, it was important to them.
Right.
And you represented them, because when you went outside that door, you were McClary, and
Right.
you remember you were McClary. So when you out there and you in the world and you're out there and you making your way through life, remember who you are.
Right. And if you have a good culture plan, it also helps train customers to be good customers.
That's right.
Because sometimes customers will think that they will expect bad service.
Yeah.
And they can walk in the door looking for bad service. But if you train your people to give customer service, in other words, you're training them to give good customer service, and you're training the customers to be good customers,
Right.
so that they can receive
Right.
good service.
Yeah.
And because a lot of people don't know how to receive good service.
Yeah.
And so they expect bad.
Right.
And
Especially nowadays.
yeah, right. And so with the pandemic and with everything, money is getting tighter. People are valuing where they spend their money.
Right.
And so they want value for what they spend.
Right.
So if you don't have that culture training, that culture service, people won't see the value in what you're offering. They won't see the value in the product. They won't see the value in the service.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go to the doc. You want good service, even if you have to go to the doctor, because you want them to value you.
Yes, Lord.
And if you don't, they feel, they may hold on to a heartache because they're thinking they would get a worse heartache by going to see you.
That's right. Absolutely. And training our children. I mean, we're doing the same thing as we're raising them nowadays.
Right.
We have to teach them about how to respond, how to react, and how to act when they're out there in the world. So we're when you think about it, I mean, the bigger picture is just society, period. When as far as culture is concerned. So can we, where does the culture start? Does it start at home? Is that where it starts? Basically, where does the culture plan start?
Well, we hope it has started at home.
Okay.
Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, we come up or raised up in a society, and maybe we didn't learn these things. Now the opportunity is we can learn them. Some people were never really trained how to work on a job. They've been focused on, well, I'm gonna put in some hours and I'm gonna get a paycheck. But it's what you do in that time from Monday to that paycheck. And so it starts, number one, with a leader. If a company gets started, it starts with that leader saying, okay, I want to make a difference, and I'm going to train my people to make a
That's
difference. And sometimes you could have people on your staff and your business that want to make a difference, and maybe they're not trained from the top, and so sometimes that's where frustration
Yeah.
come in at. But it's when you value people, I think you have a different outlook on
Yeah.
what you have. So you can start training people. You can start. It starts with me, you know. And
Yeah.
I'll take my business. The buck stops here.
Amen.
And if it's a church, the buck stops with the pastor.
That's right.
If it's the country, it stops with the president.
That's
you
right.
know. And so if they don't operate right, or they don't have the mindset, it's going to have a trickle down effect. And we've heard that term a lot in politics. They have a trickle down effect. And the bad thing about it, if it trickle down not right, then it will produce not good fruit.
That's right.
And so it always starts with you and I having the attitude that I'm going to serve people, I'm going to make a difference no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah.
And I've seen great strive, and I've been, in my study of this culture, I'm seeing that some of the greatest companies in the world are really making change. Even the big companies are really making a change to be more customer friendly, more customer oriented. And it is teaching people to go one step further than just having somebody come into your place and you get a sale. To go one step further. You find some companies even training their people to engage with the customer in conversation, and then sometimes people say, well, why are they being nosy? But they're teaching them to engage with people because it helps them, your experience. And one of the reasons why, like you go to, I know some of the grocery stores, you go to the grocery store and you're standing there at the cash register, and they're ringing up your groceries, and then the clerk start asking you what you would probably say personal question. That is to make your experience much better as you hand over your money, you know, because but
Yeah,
it is
right.
to make the experience
Right,
better,
right,
that
exactly.
you feel, yes, we are giving you service, but we think enough to, you know, just to ask you, well, what are you going to do
Yeah.
this
How was
weekend?
your day?
Yeah, how's
You know.
how's your family?
How's
you know?
your yes?
And so
Absolutely.
people want to have a good experience, and no matter where they are going to, you want to have a good experience at the church. And as I was talking with somebody last week, and the experience, like at a church, could start with the person on the parking lot directing traffic.
Come on. The greeter at the door.
The usher.
That's
You
it.
know, so if it's not correct at the beginning,
Right.
no, by the time they get into church, they don't want to hear what the preacher got to
That's
say
right.
because they already had a bad experience
That's it.
at the door. So it's the same way in business. They had a bad experience on the phone call. They had a bad experience when they walk in the door. They don't care what product you got.
Now that's my pet
You know.
peeve is that, when you have a business and a customer or employee or whoever it is, when they don't call back, and I know that from selling cars, the reason why I had a good experience was because my customers, they would have to tell me, don't call me no more. Because I was going to call you
Right.
until I was going to call you until you tell me not to call you, because I felt that if you came to the dealership and looked at a car and maybe you didn't buy it at that time, but I was going to call you, well, is there anything else we could do?
Right.
Is there, was it something that that you didn't see on the lot? Is there something that I can look for? You know what I'm saying? So now it's my job to find out what it was, the reason why you didn't come back and buy from me.
Right.
Because I wanted you, not only were you buying my car, you were buying me
Right.
as the person that's selling the car. And so I had to make a difference than anybody else. The experience that you had with me had to be different.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you, even today, I meet some of my customers on the street that I forgot, because I see so many people. And sometimes I be like, Lord, help me remember their name,
Right.
but I see them on the street and they remember me because I tried to make the experience more about not just buying a car, but about you just coming and I was the person that sold you the car, but yet we got a chance to get to know each other,
Right. Right.
And so, that's what it has to be when you are, in an environment where you're trying to create a culture, a good culture. You have to take the responsibility. And even sometimes when that sale or that experience, I should say, doesn't always go the way you like. Sometimes the customers are not the most pleasant customers to deal with, but you learn how to handle yourself and your patience.
Right.
Because you can deal with some difficult people, and maybe they just having a bad day.
Right.
Yeah, you don't know. I don't know what's wrong with them.
Well, and I'm not trying to put a plug in for any particular business, but I take a company. I think it's Kate Spade. It sells women.
Oh, you must
purses
know
and
about that.
things
Your
like-
wife got
But
purses.
the thing about them, there was an individual that at the time maybe the sale wasn't ready to be made, but the worker took the time to call the customer, to say, well, at this time we have this to offer. See, when they came in the first time, they may not have been ready to offer.
Right.
But by them taking that step and calling back and saying this may be the good time for you to do that. So you have to be able to go beyond the call of duty.
That's right.
And I've learned a lot of times, like you just mentioned, about somebody's having a bad day. You could go into a building, a business, and maybe the clerk isn't as friendly as you think they should be. And of course, we don't know why
Right.
they may be. They may be going through the worst moment of their life. They could have a little child at home
Right.
sick, a husband in the hospital sick, and they're trying to work and they're trying to focus, and it's hard. You can go in the store and you can have a bad day. But the thing about it, you don't want their bad day to rub off on you, and
That's
vice
right.
versa. So it's how you respond to it.
That's
It's how
it.
you look at it, and I try to, and a lot of times I'm able to see somebody may have a bad day, and I'm able to change the environment by just asking them that simple question. Well, how you doing? How your family doing?
Yeah.
And then it eases the tension.
Yeah,
You got to have a way of easing
That's
the tension.
it. That's it. You got to know. Even when I did an anthology, as I was sharing with you, with 16, it was 16 of us, and my pastor asked me a question, and my pastor said to me, he said, "I don't know how you did that with 16 women." And I said to him, I said, "Pastor, you know what I had to do? I had to learn how to become a pastor. I had to learn how to become a leader, because in that environment, I was the pastor."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? People have to understand that when you have something that you are in charge of, you become the pastor for that particular environment, that particular charge, that particular project that you are given. You become the leader of that. So I had to learn how to, with 16 different personalities, and all of them different.
Right.
But I had a great group of women. But for whatever the issues were, I had to always be the person that was always patient. I had to learn how to, even in the difficult situations that might be going on, I had to do all of the organization of it. I had to make sure it all turned out right.
Right.
And that was just with a book. So I'm just saying, in any situation that God gives you, I don't care what it is, you become the leader, the pastor, the bishop, the apostle, whatever you want to call it. You become that person for that environment. So you don't have to look, at the pastor of the church as just being the only leader or the boss on your job. No, you are a leader too. And the requirements, the same requirements that is on them is on you.
Right, right.
The same requirements to lead the people, to be able to do it in love,
Right.
even in the difficult situation, to make sure that the culture in that particular time, is kept at a level that people can get along.
Right.
But if I was mean and snappy and all of that during the times, and sometimes I had to go off by myself and like, okay, Holy Ghost, give me, give me what to say, give me what to do, So I just, really want people to understand it's just not about being in a big environment. It's about in your home, any place.
Right.
You're the leader.
And the thing is, and that's so important with why it starts with the leader, is because you're bringing in a group of people with different personalities, and what you're doing is just creating an environment that they can work in that
Right.
area and they can learn. Because nobody want to work in, as we say, a toxic
That's it.
workplace or toxic
That's
environment.
right.
You don't want a business where you got people just gossiping
Yes.
and not working and fighting and bickering back against each other. You want to produce an environment that these people can work together as a team. And several years ago, it always went back to teamwork, and so it's about building a place of safety for people to work, a place where people can use their ideas, they can give ideas, a place where people can feel that they are valued.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just they're just another number
Right.
Working, but
Right.
what they do value, how they
It
think
matters.
value.
Yeah.
Because every staff member, every employee is a valuable person. Just not just showing up to work, but just they being what they have. They could have a smile that could be more valuable than wiping dust off the counter.
There is some of the things that I wanted to read this. It says, discover how to create a workplace where people like to work by focusing on 6 elements of a healthy workplace culture. And the 6 elements are communicating your purpose and values. Employees are inspired when they work in organizations where purpose and values resonate with them. Most employees want to work on providing meaningful work is another one of the steps. Most employees want to work on projects that inspire them along with what they are good at and allow them to grow. Focusing your leadership team on people, how leaders relate to their employees plays a major role on how everyone feels about their workplace. Building meaningful relationships when employees like the people they work with and for, they are more satisfied and more engaged in their work. Creating peak performing teams. People are energized when they work together effectively because teams achieve things that no one person can do on their own. And then lastly, practicing constructive conflict management. That is real good. And when leaders don't handle conflict properly and well, it quickly sours the workplace.
See, some people think that society, and I know you've heard the word, some people are just lazy. They don't want to. People want to work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in people to work. It's just not having the right motivation to work. And a lot of time it's not about money that is the motivation. It's about the environment that people can be motivated to work and do a good job.
Amen.
And people want to work. It's not lazy.
They just want to work where they like.
Right.
Where they like being there and where they feel like they are liked.
Right.
It's a twofold thing. I like being here, but I want to know, am I liked?
Correct. Right.
Am I appreciated? Okay. Do you value me?
Right.
Do you care about me? Do you care about my family? Not just your needs. What about my needs as well? So, all of that is important. This is a very good book, The Culture Question, How to Create a Workplace Where People Like to Work. So if you want to pick this book up, it's many people that have attributed to. It's about about 4 different authors.
Right.
I won't read all of them, but this is a very good book. So if you want to pick this book up, I think for those of you that are in business or thinking about doing business or just any kind of project that you're thinking about, I think this would be a very good book. 21st century book.
Right.
This is a 21st century book. This is something I think every leader needs to have as a part of their library.
Right.
So how did you get interested in this?
Well, back in, I'd go to a lot of conferences and everything, and I started seeing that people needed to change the way we do business, not just about the everyday open the door, ring the cash register, but what can you do for people today, a year from now, 5 years now, and how you do it that can impact people down the road. So when I started looking at and started focusing, I started researching where can I learn to not just be another business that provides service, because every business provides service, but what can I step my business up to providing excellent service, uplifting service that is beyond just the norm. And so then I said, well, I want to build a culture that my business is based on how we serve people, how we serve each other, and how that we can serve people today, whether they buy from us or whether they don't buy from us. Because if I can teach people the values of my service or products and things, whether they use me or not, they'll be a better consumer.
Okay.
And that's what I work on. And
Okay.
that's why I started really studying. And not only that, it made me look at, well, I did this business plan. How can I maintain the business plan? And even when there's tough times, that culture still has to stay uptight.
Absolutely.
It has to be on
Yeah,
point.
the culture doesn't
Right.
change.
No, the culture doesn't change.
Yeah.
You may have to go to the bank and borrow more money.
Right.
But the
Right,
culture
stays
the same.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. Well, I tell you, Mr. McClary, I've been to your establishment a couple of times, and I know from being there, it is a clean environment. It is just a peaceful environment. The people, there's always someone, that comes and, can I help you? And Mr. McClary will see you in a few minutes or whatever the case may be. And so I know firsthand that the environment that you have created has been an environment of culture. And so I see it exemplified in how you serve your people and how the people serve as well your customers. So I just want, for those of you that, give them your where you are and how people can get in touch with you.
Well, it's Chapel of the Chimes Funeral Home in Westland on 4670 South Inkster Road. We are not just here to serve people when you lose a loved one, but we're here to serve people while you're living, because we are in the people serving business, and we love people. Our staff love people, and we're here to just make things easier for you in those tough times.
All right. Okay. Well, folks, you do want to go, and if you have a loved one or someone that needs to have that, kind of care as far as the funeral business is concerned, you want to be with someone that you feel that you can trust. Someone, Mr. McClary has all kind of different plans and things that he can offer to you in terms of whatever your service needs are at the level that you can, afford. So, you do, you have a phone number? Did you give her your phone number?
Our phone number is 313-295-2500.
Okay, so if that is something that you need for your family at that particular time, and you need somebody that you feel you can trust, as I said, somebody that you feel that can handle your loved one's remains during that time, and to help you during that time get through that season. We know that this has been a very difficult season during the 2020 year and going into the 2021 year. We know that it's been very difficult, but there are people that care about you and care about your loved ones. So I just want to thank you, Mr. McClary, for being again with us here today. And I hope you all have enjoyed this, talking about how to change the culture. And even in your marriage, I just want to say that you can change the culture of your marriage. For those of you that are married and raising families, the culture of your marriage can even be changed. So I would, again, this is a book called The Culture Question, How to Create a Workplace, I'd say a family place, and any place where people like to work and be together. People like to be together because this is a time where everybody's at home.
Right.
So we need the culture. We definitely need this in the families right now. You need to change the culture of your home and how you relate to one another and love one another, because we all in a closed-in environment now. So this is a very good book. I think that people can read and can put into practice. So I just want to thank you again, Mr. McClary. And we want to thank our listening and viewing audience. For those of you that have been with us today, this has been the Marketplace Connection. And I don't want to forget before I get off the air that I have a anthology that I have written. I've written 2 books. I am a published author. I'm not just a writer. I'm a published author. And so and so I have 2 books that I have written. 2018, my book of Amen Sister came out. And that was a journal based on a lot of my own life experiences. And it's more like a inspirational, motivational for women around the world. So I want you to pick that book up. You can get any of my books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of the book outlets. They are there. And you can also see me if you desire to have one. I am available for speaking engagements, so you can always call me. And I can come out and I can talk to your women, because that is my call. I believe my purpose in the earth is to be a blessing to women. I also have another book called Gathering the Fragments That Nothing Will Be Lost, based on that scripture, Jesus feeding the 5,000, and that everything that they, after feeding the 5,000, the fragments that were left, he told them to gather it so nothing would be lost, and they had more left over. So I have women, that 16 women, everything that you can think of is in that book, and I would love for you to pick it up. And it is based on true life stories of 16 women that talk about their fragments, and all of us have had fragments in our life, and they're now healed, whole, delivered, set free. And I want you to get that book. It's based on their lives and divorce, learning how to self-love, learning how to be mature adults, homosexuality, it's so much abuse, domestic violence, all of that is in that book, and you will be blessed. And for those of you that can identify with that situation, we want you to know that we are here for you if you need us at any time to come out and talk to your women. So you can reach me here at the Worship Radio International if you are interested in being a host, or interested in any of our services, which we do book publishing, magazines, we do printing, we do as well. We do the, as I said, book publishing, and we just do a host of things. So if you'd like to be a host here on our network, we are growing by leaps and bounds, and we just thank God for what he has done, and we'd like to have you come join us and consider being a host here on the Worship Radio International, and we are going international very, very soon. We'll be on Roku, television, Fire Stick, and all of that. So this has been, again, the Marketplace Connection, and I had to give a plug because I am the COO of the organization. So I just wanted you all to know what we do and how we do it, and we are changing the culture of our environment as well. Amen. So thank you again, Mr. McClary, for bringing all of this good information to us today, and I thank you, my viewing and listening audience, and we will see you again. Not next week, we'll do a rerun. I'm doing my workshop for my writers, and so we'll be back the 1st of March. And my birthday is next week too. So happy birthday to me. So have a great week. We'll see you. God bless you. Bye-bye.
No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, there is a force that unites us all. Join the movement and let your lips do the talking with Aide Cosmetics, available on aidecosmetics.com.